I'm Debbie Verser with Watch Kansas, and today I have Pat Proctor, who is the Kansas House of Representatives of the 41st District. Thank you, Pat, for coming today.
Thanks for having me today.
The topic that we decided to discuss today was about the federal government's interference with the Second Amendment. And I know a lot of Kansans are very concerned about how that is going to affect them and our state.
Yeah, well, I'm very concerned too. You listen to the rhetoric that's coming out of Washington right now, not just from the president and the vice president, but also from the newly Democratic-controlled Congress.
Yes.
I'm very concerned, but I think that we've got a really firm bulwark here in Kansas, and I think that we've got a very solid conservative majority that's and a great conservative attorney general who are always vigilant and ready to defend our rights.
So some of the neighboring surrounding states are coming up with legislation trying to protect any changes that the federal government might make to their Second Amendment rights. Is Kansas doing that, or are you saying that Kansas is secure?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because I get asked this question all the time. A lot of our neighboring states have started passing these Second Amendment sanctuary state bills in their states to combat the rhetoric to combat this federal encroachment on our Second Amendment rights. Mm-hmm. And so I was very interested in that as well. And so I've done a lot of investigating. And I'll tell you, Kansas is one of the most Second Amendment friendly states in the entire United States. You know, for decades, we've been passing law after law that has ever more firmly secured our Second Amendment rights as Kansans. We've got constitutional carry here. You don't have to have a permit to carry a concealed weapon because the Constitution clearly says that you have an individual right to keep and bear arms. You shouldn't have to have a permit to do that. We have reciprocity agreements with our neighboring states that allow us to them to recognize our permits, or our concealed carry permits, and them to recognize, us to recognize theirs. Though when they come in the state, they have the right to keep and bear arms, so they don't really need that permit. But we do recognize them, and so when I researched, one of the key people I talked to is a legislator in our House who is has a real firm background in constitutional law and is an attorney, and he said something that kind of stuck in my mind. That you can't pre-nullify a federal law. There's this principle in precedent in the United States history that if the federal government passes an unconstitutional law, that the states have the right to nullify that law, to not follow that law because it is a violation of their the liberties enshrined in the Constitution. And really what these Second Amendment sanctuary bills seek to do is pre-nullify anything that comes out of the federal government. While I absolutely agree with the sentiment, I'd like to go back in time and redo the 2020 election if I could, but it doesn't really have any force in law. You have to wait until the law is passed. And then you have to attack that statute and try to get it overturned in the Supreme Court, and so that's how you nullify laws that are unconstitutional in the United States. And so while it might make us feel better and it might look good on a campaign postcard in 2022, we got a lot of things to do. So I'm not about passing legislation that doesn't get anything done for Kansans. So I think that we've got some really good laws here. And we just need to shore them up.
Well, are there any sort of outlying laws that have to do with that that you're working on, maybe?
Yeah. So in the House, a couple weeks ago, we voted overwhelmingly in support of House Bill 2089, which does a lot of things kind of around the edges to strengthen our already strong Second Amendment law, protections here in the state of Kansas. One thing that it does is it allows state boards of education to do education for their kids in the school on gun safety. They don't have to. It's not mandatory. It's something that's opened up as an option to school boards if they'd like to do that. But I think that it inculcates that culture and institutionalizes that culture of Second Amendment liberties, that you have the right to keep and bear arms. With that right comes the responsibility to handle those firearms safely, but you do have that right, and I think that that's important. Something else that it does is it again strengthens those reciprocity laws, expanding the number of states that will respect Kansas concealed carry permits and vice versa. But really our laws are already so strong that it's tough to do much more than we're already doing in the state. But I think what I would like to say on this topic, because I do get asked the question a lot. Look, I spent 25 years in the Army defending our rights in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, Jordan, all over the world. And included in those freedoms that I was defending is the right to keep and bear arms, America's first freedom. And I just want everybody to rest assured that I believe passionately in our Second Amendment liberties, and I am going to fight just as hard in the Kansas State House as I did on the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan to defend those freedoms.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
It's an honor to serve.
So, I'm Debbie Berzer, again with Watch Kansas, and I've just concluded with the House of Representatives of the 41st District, Pat Proctor, and thank you so much
Thank you.
for being my guest.
Thank you.